Afterwards, we sat down for a leisurely rest in the shade of some rocks. I began to work on my notes, and the quantity of them made me realize that he had given me an astonishing amount of information about rattlesnakes. "Your hunter's spirit has returned to you," Don Juan said suddenly and with a serious face. "Now you're hooked." "I beg your pardon?" I wanted him to elaborate on his statement that I was hooked, but he only laughed and repeated it. "How am I hooked?" I insisted. "Hunters will always hunt," he said. "I am a hunter myself." "Do you mean you hunt for a living?" "I hunt in order to live. I can live off the land anywhere." He indicated the total surroundings with his head. "To be a hunter means that one knows a great deal," he went on. "It means that one can see the world in different ways. In order to be a hunter, one must be in perfect balance with everything else. Otherwise, hunting would become a meaningless chore. For instance, today, we took a little snake. I had to apologize to her for cutting her life off so suddenly and so definitely. I did what I did, knowing that my own life will also be cut off someday, in very much the same fashion, suddenly and definitely. So, all in all, we and the snakes are on a par. One of them fed us today." "I'd never conceived a balance of that kind when I used to hunt," I said. "That's not true. You didn't just kill animals. You and your family all ate the game." His statements carried the conviction of someone who had been there. He was, of course, right. There had been times when I had provided the incidental wild meat for my family. After a moment's hesitation, I asked, "How did you know that?" "There are certain things that I just know," he said. "I can't tell you how, though." I told him that my aunts and uncles would very seriously call all the birds I would bag pheasants. Don Juan said that he could easily imagine them calling a sparrow a tiny pheasant, and added a comical rendition of how they would chew it. The extraordinary movements of his jaw gave me the feeling that he was actually chewing a whole bird, bones and all. "I really think that you have a touch for hunting," he said, staring at me. "And we've been barking up the wrong tree. Perhaps you'll be willing to change your way of life in order to become a hunter." He reminded me that I had found out with just a little exertion on my part that in the world there were good and bad spots for me. He added that I had also found out the specific colors associated with them. "That means that you have a knack for hunting," he declared. "Not everyone who tried would find their colors and their spots at the same time." To be a hunter sounded very nice and romantic, but it was an absurdity to me, since I didn't particularly care to hunt. "You don't have to care to hunt or to like it," he replied to my complaint. "You have a natural inclination. I think the best hunters never like hunting. They do it well, that's all." I had the feeling Don Juan was capable of arguing his way out of anything, and yet he maintained that he didn't like to talk at all. "It's like what I've told you about hunters," he said. "I don't necessarily like to talk. I just have a knack for it, and I do it well, that's all." I found his mental agility truly funny.